So in this episode, we are talking about 1984 by George Orwell. And my guest is Josh Blackhurst, who is one of my best friends. And I was super excited to start a podcast. And I was just thinking about who could possibly come on my show to kind of kick things off and be a little bit awkward and, figure this whole thing out with me. And Josh was definitely the first name that came to mind. So this episode is definitely a little bit clunky. It's probably a little bit long. We do ramble. That is just the nature of our friendship. And we kind of get off on tangents quite a bit, no matter where we are or what we're talking about. And it drives, I think, our wives crazy most of the time. But that is kind of also what happens in this podcast. So just bear with me. I do think that there's, a lot of information about the book here, and I do think that it is a worthwhile listen. However, it is definitely a journey. So I'm hoping to get better at this whole podcasting process. Please, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Any suggestions, definitely open to hearing about how you would like to hear the podcast, how you would like things structured, so that we can obviously put forth content that people are interested in. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to help people read more, help people discover new books, maybe learn a little bit about books that maybe you will never read, but might want to hear somebody talk about for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours or shorter, if that's what you guys are wanting. So just let me know, drop me a comment. Let me know what is, what are your thoughts for this podcast, and we'll just keep moving forward to the next one. So hope you enjoy. All right, we're live. Nice. So this is going to be super interesting. This is our first one, but I just wanted to, introduce Josh. I'm sure you'll be on multiple podcasts, mostly because I don't have a whole lot of friends.
Yeah.
Likely. And your qualifications are that you are my friend.
Oh, and so I am overqualified.
Well, I mean, overqualified to be here, underqualified to read.
Overqualified.
That's what I was. I don't
underpaid.
really. Yeah, I don't really know what your reading level is. I would assume like fourth grade, maybe, probably.
Probably good enough to keep up with this podcast.
That's true. That's true. That's kind of the goal of the podcast, though, is to be a podcast about books for people who don't read. Because I never read, ever.
I guess you should talk about the goal of the podcast.
I was probably going to hopefully do that on like a pilot episode, but I mean, I guess we could kind of go
This
over
is
it.
Not the pilot.
Well, I was going to do like just a standalone me episode, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Talks about like my background, but I guess we could just make it this one too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's your show.
It is my show. I got all the stuff, so it has to be my show. That, again, is my only qualification as well. It's not that I know how to read.
All the crap.
So, I mean, I don't know. Do you read?
Do I read? Should I talk about everything I've read?
No, I mean, like, what do you, I guess, like, what do you
what
like? What do you like to read?
Not the book we're going to talk about today.
Really?
No, I did not like it.
Ugh, that shocks me. But I guess we'll get into it because I love the book.
Sucky book. You said that you listened to this like 100 times, and I was like,
this is only my second time listening to it, but I really do like it. Whatever.
It's depressing spaghetti.
So then what kind of books do you like? I gave you the option to pick a book, by the way.
I did. I picked books. I picked...
You picked...
Project Hail Mary.
No, I was okay with that one. I said I'd read Project Hail Mary. I didn't want to read the other one.
I've already... yeah.
I don't know what the other one was.
It was the Robert Kennedy one.
No. We're going to do that one eventually. No, you gave me one after that.
There's one that you didn't want to do at all?
No, there's one, I didn't really find super interesting. I think it was like about...
I'm going to just look at
it was like one of those series books. You gave me 2 books and they were like part of a series.
Oh, yeah. Lock In.
Yeah, that was maybe the one. I don't know.
Dude, you would like that.
The Project Hail Mary one.
Got the FBI.
I like
narrated by Will Wheaton.
Yeah, that was the one.
To not like. It's really good.
I don't know. I guess I just wasn't really feeling that one right now.
Yeah.
But I do want to read Project Hail Mary. That will definitely be on the list.
Project Hail Mary is amazing.
Yeah, next time you come up, we'll have to do that one. We'll do one that I've read already, and now we're going to do one that you've read already for the next one.
Okay. Andy Weir.
But are those mostly the kind of books you read then? Just like
My
books
favorite
about
books.
people
Okay,
going to
so,
space and
yeah,
being effed in space? Or what is it exactly that you like?
I mean, yeah. That's actually pretty much, that is the summary of the book. I get screwed up in space.
Yeah, so
what
you're saying is the book that we should have read that would have been both timely and at your speed would have been 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
That book I actually haven't read in decades, so that would be good.
But we got to like relive them doing that in real life over the last week.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy.
That is really crazy. That is really crazy that, well, it's bizarre how similar it is.
Like, I know absolutely nothing about the book. At one point I thought it was about a kraken, but I'm fairly certain I'm wrong.
No.
So
I mean, the book, 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I don't really know.
I'm pretty sure it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, so
whatever.
The fact that you don't even know the name.
Some leagues under the sea. What was that like spin-off movie where they pulled like a bunch of
Journey to the Center of the Earth?
No.
With The Rock.
No,
just
this was with Sean Connery.
Smashing through layers of the earth. Just
where he had like some fictional tales. Like he had Captain Nemo, captain of the ship. And it is 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's not 20.
I'm almost certain it's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We're about to see who's more educated on this one. Again, I haven't read it, so I'll preface it with that. But I do know that you cannot build your own submarine from Xbox controllers and go 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They implode, apparently. Unfortunately.
Was that their first go? That's what I want to know. I want to know the story about the company, and I want to know if that was their first go.
Yeah, it was. The founder of the company was on that one.
I know that he was on that one, but I didn't know if he was on that one for fun.
No.
Or if that was their first go.
That was their first go. Have you seen the video circulating about like
test like production?
Have you seen the video of them like talking about the ship?
Yeah.
Where he's like,
oh yeah, and like
I got this off
wireless controller. Ugh.
Well, and like when he's like, oh, I got this piece from RV Land or whatever he talks about.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he's like salvaging parts of your ship. And I'm like, dude, you're charging $250,000 a ticket. Like, get brand new parts, especially if you're going to the Titanic.
Yeah.
But I have been thoroughly enjoying the memes.
Yeah, the memes.
My Instagram reels are fire right
now. Yeah. I don't know.
All that to say, I think we picked the wrong book. We could have basically talked about
we definitely picked the wrong book.
Submersible.
But that's just because
this whole time.
The book. You've got a picture of it too. I'll let you introduce the book.
Well, we're not going to introduce the book quite yet. I still want to talk about you. So, what do you do for a living?
I sit at a desk and I look like I'm busy on Teams and look available on Teams and play video games all day.
Sounds about right, because I do call you like multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And you answer every time.
Pretty much. No, I am the profession that can do that, aka a software developer, software engineer, what have you. What other synonym you want to call it?
I hope your boss listens to this one day and it's like,
he's like, I knew it.
He does nothing.
He'd be like, me too. No, it's good. I work for Bailey's holding company that has Bailey's Moving and Storage. And
so you do have, again, I know these questions, but I think they're just important to kind of get a good grasp. So you do have a 4-year degree.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yep, I went to UVU.
How many books
computer science degree
do you think you read to graduate with a 4-year degree?
Well,
not textbooks.
Oh, okay.
Like how many books?
One. I read one.
You read one book to graduate with a bachelor's?
Yeah.
Which book?
I don't remember what it's called.
It really left an impression.
It was about corn. No, it did leave an impression. It was about corn and how everything's made of corn, and the things you eat is either corn or made of corn.
Actually, that does sound kind of interesting.
It was awful.
Really? Just kind of depressing, or you just didn't find it
super
interesting?
uninteresting.
I guess you didn't even like.
Yeah,
this,
how many
you didn't even
papers-
like this book, so I mean, your taste is obviously.
Yeah.
We'll see how many more times you're invited back.
Yeah, probably not good.
Yeah.
Not good odds.
Yeah, because I think. Oh, I know for a fact. I made it through college. I also have a 4-year degree.
Fancy.
I've used it literally 0 times.
Barely.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I bought all this crap, so.
Hey, you got this working.
Yeah, it took us
4-year
like
degree didn't teach you how to do that.
30 minutes to get that working, and I'm embarrassed to say I also spent like 2 hours working on it before you got here.
Oh, nice.
But I think it's working. Hopefully it is. If it's not, then we're gonna sit here and talk for a while, and then not talk after that.
Oh, that's way better.
But no, I didn't read a single book in college. Not one. And I also did not read a single book in high school. I think there were books that I was supposed to read in high school.
Not even as a group?
No.
Because I even had high school classes where my English teacher, we would just basically read the book in class. We would just spend time, 30 minutes a day where you would popcorn read.
Yeah, but that's because you went to Lone Peak and they wanted to make sure that you guys could read.
Well,
because they were a little bit worried. They were a little bit worried about some of you guys. They were like, all right. Some of these kids are still sounding things out. And so we need to find out which one of those kids are. Kick them off the basketball team and then make them focus on reading.
Yeah.
Now, I basically spark noted my whole high school. I don't think I know for a fact I didn't read a single book in high school.
Do you think it's worse today?
That kids read?
Well, do you think, because we had Spark Notes, right? We had the internet, and the generations before didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
But we had the internet and Spark Notes. But now they have AI.
Yeah, there's no way I would do my homework if I had AI. Are you kidding me? I barely did my homework now.
Can you read me this book, please? And then
I wouldn't even do that. I'd be like, ChatGPT, can you write me an essay
about the book? Yeah.
In a C+ side of things so that it doesn't raise suspicion.
Yeah.
That would have been my go-to cue.
But there's no way they read anymore. There's no way kids read.
No.
Why would they read?
I'm telling you, I didn't read. There's no way. My mom claims, and I'm sure one day, I know she wants to be on an episode of the podcast. Shout out to my mom for helping me out. But she says we read all the time because I was homeschooled for middle school and a couple of years of elementary school. It's like a good.
Well, what does she say that you read?
Everything. She's like, we read so much. And I do remember reading. That's literally. I don't know. And I do remember reading like a handful of books. I read To Kill a Mockingbird. I remember. Well,
I don't know. At that age too, you get bored.
Yeah.
It's not entertaining. But I feel like now, the long form content, like podcasts or books, is kind of the only entertaining thing left.
Yeah, because movies suck.
Movies do kind of suck.
I mean, John Wick can keep coming out with them as many times as they want.
There are certain movies that I'll go see, but I still don't love.
But if I see another like live action remake, I'm going to be done. I mean, what are they going to live action remake next? WALL-E? Just a better animated robot?
Yeah, they get Boston Robotics or whatever they are to just build a robot that can be like WALL-E.
I'd like them to do like a live action Up, and then really send a house.
Oh, really?
Really send a house into the sky. And it's gonna be this submersible all over again. How did we know that wasn't enough balloons? You got Alec Baldwin down there just shooting off balloons.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't know the gun was loaded. Movies blow. And basically, I just watched The Office on repeat because nothing will ever come close to The Office or Arrested Development.
Yeah,
as far as television goes.
So this week, it was the first week where, because we've been mooching off of Megan's parents, my in-laws' Netflix account for like 8 years.
Yeah.
Or a decade, right?
Like a millennial should.
Yeah. I mean, like as any responsible millennial is doing, we're mooching and stealing from our parents at a later age.
It's only responsible. You have kids. Like, what are you going to do? Waste your money on a Netflix account?
No, I actually have important things to spend my money on.
More video games.
Exactly. No, I turned on Netflix on the TV. It still worked on my phone, but I turned it on the TV, and it was like, "Hey, you're outside your region." I was like, "Nice." So it actually
because they're in Ohio now.
Yeah, they're in Ohio.
They're on the other side of the country.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I think we still share because we pay for it. I don't know why, because I watch 0 shows on Netflix now, but some reason I can't.
Yeah, no, I was
cancel
messing
it.
on your TV too, and you're like not even logged into anything but Netflix. And then your Netflix history was like just kids shows. So I know it's not you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't even watch anything anymore. Basically, I just watch Paw Patrol on repeat. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That or Bluey.
I wish it was Bluey. I mean,
She doesn't like Bluey.
I mean, she likes it, but she just never wants to watch it.
My kids don't watch. My kids don't like watching Bluey, but I force them to watch Bluey.
Yeah,
because I like Bluey.
Bluey's better than anything else. Better than Paw
better.
Patrol. She's been on a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse kick.
Yeah.
Makes me want to.
But Bluey's fading too.
Yeah.
They're cracking down on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, did you hear about that?
No.
No, they had to go back and edit some episodes because at one point, I haven't seen it because they release in Australia before they release here. But at one point, Bandit like grabs his little fat pouch, you know. He goes like, like, bummer, I've gained a little bit weight. And that was the end of it. But they had to go back and edit that out because it was fat shaming, apparently.
Dude, Bandit's like a real dad, though. How do you shame him for having a dad bod?
I don't know.
He is like the dad I aspire to be.
Well, yeah, he's the unattainable goal. He is, he's the perfect dad.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I can't believe they're editing Bluey. I guess I
Well,
wonder
it's
if
Disney.
I was about to say, I wonder if it's
why would you not believe that?
I wonder if it's Disney or if it's. I mean, I hope it's not like the actual creators in Australia.
Oh no!
I mean, is it actually still like created in Australia? I have no idea. Or are they just like culturally appropriating those voices?
Well, they are Australians.
Well, that's what I was.
Who are the voice actors? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's what I mean. Do they like?
Well, no, yeah. It was like I heard too that it wasn't even until like season 3 that the mom and the dad met in real life. Like the voice actors had not met each other in real life.
I know that
until season 3, and it was like one time, and that's it.
I know that the kids. I think the kids' identities are
Hidden.
yeah, which is really cool. I think.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So they don't turn into like.
I hope they're getting paid properly. Yeah, I hope that they're not just saying, "Oh, they're hidden and not slaves."
Everything is okay here.
I hope an independent party is checking in on that.
Yeah, but it's Disney. I doubt it. They've got better things to do.
Right.
Like
ruin Star Wars or
everything else they touch, which is good. Which also brings me back to why I think I want to start reading more, or like I have been reading more. My wife would say that I haven't been reading more.
Your wife is a serial reader.
Dude, it's insane. Do you know how many books she read last year?
Probably more than I have in my lifetime.
She read like 130 almost.
More than 100 books in a year?
Oh, it was more than 2 books a week. I think.
What?
I think it came out to be almost 2.5 books a week.
And she's not doing Audible.
She does some Audible, but most of it's just.
Is most of it on a Kindle?
No, she's been doing Kindle recently, just because we just had a baby, and so she can like hold the baby and then do the Kindle. But for most of the time, she just rents them from the library. She's got to be like,
oh, what?
Yeah, dude, she rents. I mean, she'll go to the library like 3 times a week. It's like her happy place.
What?
Which is
She
crazy.
brings the kids to the library?
Sometimes, but our kids are nuts. I mean, there's a koi pond at the library, and I'm just waiting for one of them to come back, like Michael Scott, just like soaking wet.
Yeah, and he's like, and your kids are like, who puts a koi pond in a library?
Literally, one day that will be my kids. So, I mean, bless her heart, she takes them sometimes, but it's definitely not her preference.
Yeah, my wife will take the kids to the library, but it's more because like the library has something going on for kids that day.
Yeah, I mean that definitely has that too. Like they went and listened to, I think it was Belle, read a book the other day, which is better than like drag queens and everything else that goes on at other bookstores.
Maybe depends on who you ask.
That is true, and how the drag queen looks. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
So yeah, but I've been trying to get, like, I think I've read, I mean, about a book a month for the last year. My wife will say I'm a big fat liar. again, she.
Yours is always Audible.
No, I read like one paperback book and then like 2 on the Kindle. So, I mean, a little bit. The problem is again, I read at like a 3rd grade level. So if I'm reading something, it takes me 10 times longer to read it than just to listen to it because
I will say
I never read growing up. So like, how was I supposed to learn how to read?
Sure. Are you getting distracted?
No, I actually feel like I get more out of the book when I read it, like physically.
Of course. Yeah.
But I have my finger on the page and I'm sounding stuff out. Like it's pretty bad.
Oh, really? My problem with reading books is like at some point my brain, like I will read something interesting and I want to, like part of my brain wants to keep thinking about that interesting thing and the other half of the brain keeps reading. And so then I'll get 2 pages further and I've concluded my thought about the interesting thing. And I wake up and I'm 2 pages further and don't know what I just read.
Yeah, I think that's why our wives hate us too when we hang out because we just get pretty tangential on our phones. We're like, hey, what is this? And then we just look it up on our phones and we never finish the actual thought that we were talking about at the beginning. I know that your wife and my wife have both gotten mad at us for that.
Yeah.
But
what's wrong with that?
Some would probably call it like ADHD. I don't know.
No, I diagnose this as being a superior human being.
Yeah. The last D in ADHD is disorder. So I think that's probably pretty indicative of what you have. I'm not lumping myself in with you because it only happens when I'm around you, but definitely would put that on the disorder side of things.
Yeah. I do that when I'm writing too.
Yeah.
Like I'll think ahead of what I'm writing.
Do you do that when you code?
No, my words per minute can keep up with my thoughts. Usually. I have started to learn some different commands that will actually help me code faster to kind of keep up with like some of my thoughts.
Like control GPT click.
Nah,
you keep up.
Yeah.
Do my job for me.
Control C, Control V. Yeah, that is blazing fast. Now there's a set of commands called Vim. Vim is commonly like thought of as an editor itself, you know, like you have Photoshop to edit photos and I have VS Code to edit code, right? Both software made by big software companies. Well, Vim is one of those softwares that you can view code in, but that's not where it originated from. Vim is originally motions, I believe. I believe that's what it is originally.
Really?
But yeah, it's like using your JKL commands to move up.
Like the JK.
No, like J and K and L and H. Those will move the cursor up and down, and then you can hold other things to move to the end of the line and stuff like that. It's pretty complicated. There's like whole courses on just how to learn how to use the keyboard differently. Or I could switch to Dvorak, right? Because your keyboard is QWERTY.
For anybody here that just wants
they
to
know that because they're not idiots.
The plus 30 seconds, plus 30 seconds, plus 30 seconds. Just skip ahead for a sec. Josh is just going to nerd out for a sec on coding.
Now, where did we ADHD?
Yep.
Writing fast and talking fast.
And we're back.
That could have been a commercial.
Yeah, if we were getting paid.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so I guess I've started to read books, but then that's kind of where I was like, you know what? Between that, and then I think we might homeschool our kids. Are you guys going to send your kids to public school? Or are you guys going to do homeschool?
Probably going to indoctrinate them, into public school.
Really?
So I'm indifferent.
Have you been like leaning more and more towards, like, have you ever thought about it before recently? Because I know like the world's nuts. And I feel like before like I said, I was homeschooled for a couple of years. And I used to go to those.
Your prime example.
Just
why?
I turned out great. I am your only friend. No, I used to go to those. You still have to do standardized testing when you're homeschooled, or at least you did back when I was homeschooled.
Sure.
So you still had to take like your yearly Scantron test or whatever.
Did you ever find out how you did on those?
I have no idea. No, they just went to the state.
Oh, okay.
And so,
but could you have found out the score?
I don't know.
I
would have
think I could have
cared more than just like
for sure.
Absolute zero.
Well, like nobody in public school cares about those either because your teacher tells you right before they give it to you that it's not graded.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm like, oh, a B, 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 B.
When in doubt,
and
see it out.
statistically, I'll get at least 25% or maybe even higher. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But all I know is that going to those tests, I realized how weird homeschooled kids actually were.
Oh,
like
You didn't know that you had a high chance of being weird?
Well, I mean, I played sports still and like, had like youth group and had friends
Well,
from...
you should clarify by sports, you mean
real sports.
figure skating.
No, I was not a figure skater. I used to speed skate, which will probably come up in a couple times. But yeah, no, I played sports. I also skied.
You were on a ski team?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
So...
But see, those are all individual sports.
Yeah. But
even
like
speed skating, you're still on a team,
Yeah,
but
but we were on
you're
it.
still an individual.
Yeah.
It's a race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I still had interactions with people, is what I was trying to say. So like when I was thinking about our kids, I was like, I don't know if I want to homeschool. Like, there are some weird kids that homeschooled. I mean, nothing against weird kids, but I just didn't want my kids to be weird.
No.
Or just weird in a different way. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But more and more, I'm like, dude, it's nuts. Like, do you really want your kid to...
Yeah, who knows?
Like,
I don't know.
There's homeschool weird, and then there's like litter box weird.
I feel like you're choosing between bad and bad.
I don't know. It depends on how you...
Like there's a chance of being good, and there's also a chance of being good.
Yeah. I mean, there's upside and there's downside to both, for sure.
Yeah. So the discussion Megan and I have had about Lucy, right, who's 4 and has one more year of preschool before kindergarten, is it... I feel like... I don't know. Her opinion is, yes, there's a good chance that homeschooling could be better, but she doesn't feel like she has a lot of time for it. And she doesn't feel like I really have time for it because I'm working during the day or not,
Sitting at your computer playing video games,
Exactly.
looking like you're busy.
Look busy, okay? And looking busy still means sitting at my desk.
Gotcha.
No, but there's who knows how long I'm going to be working from home. I could be working in an office next year, or I could be, doing hybrid or something like that. And I know that there's a lot of like curriculum that homeschool kids can follow still. Like, I think you still followed curriculum. It's not like you had class time where it was just you and your mom. Like, maybe you had like worksheet help time where, your mom was kind of helping you learn the concept that the worksheet was trying to teach you. But I don't know. I think Megan's fear of it just comes with, she's worried that we would get behind and stay behind. And with public school, you don't really have that fear. Like, somebody's paid to keep your kid on track, and they keep they keep your kid on track.
Yeah, but what I'm going with this is like, I mean, what is on track if your kid doesn't even read? Like, I didn't read. I feel like I didn't learn. I feel like I didn't learn anything in high school. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So
like,
when I was younger, when I was in elementary school, my parents made me read.
Yeah.
So I read books, and it got to the point. So at one point, I did have a bad reading level, and I got tutored specifically for that reading level. I went to the American Fork Library, and I had a tutor that I would go see, and he actually taught me this concept in reading where and we practiced at it, and it wasn't difficult because if I had any amount of care in the world, I would read fine, But it was just, I did not care at all to read the book. I had zero interest in reading the book. I wanted to go play with my G.I. Joes, But at the tutor, he would kind of teach me to read ahead of where I'm pointing. So like there was a lot of like pointing and following, but he's like, in your head, like be reading a word or two ahead, but then be saying the word that you're pointing at. And that exercise helped my reading a lot.
Really?
And then I started reading a few more other books, that my parents would buy. Lots of Boxcar Kids. This is when I was, maybe, what grade would I have been?
10th, 11th.
No, like 3rd or 4th. Oh my gosh. No, yeah, but I remember at one point, like before that, the breaking point was my dad was sitting me down on the bed and he was like, okay, we are not, like, you do not get to eat food until you read a whole chapter of Shackleton, I believe it was.
That was a good book.
Yeah.
I read that one in
It's actually
middle
a pretty
school
good
too.
book. It is really cool.
One of the few books that I like can like actually remember reading and remember that like I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I do think, and honestly, that is what got me to read. It was my dad putting his foot down and saying, no, you have to read this, because there was also some like end of year project about it where I had to turn a shoebox into a scene from the book, whatever. Basically that was a turning point in my learning where my parent put their foot down and said, you're going to learn this, like whether you want to or not. Like, you're a kid and you obviously don't want to, and you just need to. So I feel like every good parent just needs to put their foot down.
Did that translate to reading like later on in your life too? Like, did you read in high school, or did that fall?
No. I mean, it gave me a lot of confidence in my reading. Like, the popcorn reading in school was not a huge stress for me because I could listen to how some kids read.
It's
I was
sad.
like, well, I can do a little bit better than that. Well, it is sad. What's sad is that they have so much fear of reading.
Yeah.
People have a fear of reading. People have a fear of starting a book and not being able to finish it.
Well, it's because I feel like a lot of people just don't finish books. I mean, again, I just go back to me personally. I never did. And it makes me kind of sad because I'm doing this podcast mostly because I want to try to read a book a week. I want to stay accountable. I want to like talk about books and try to take control a little bit of my own personal education, because I feel like reading does that, and I want to learn more, and I do enjoy learning. But
do you feel like you've forgotten how to learn?
I feel like I learn now just through YouTube and through podcasts. Like that's all I do and I learn for work too. Like I've been self-employed for a while, for 6 years.
Yeah.
So like I'm constantly learning new skills and trying to like
you got your
develop
realtor's
new
license.
things.
Like, that's a course you learn, you take, and you take a test.
But like,
or not? Wait, it wasn't
insurance.
It was insurance.
Yeah, I do want to get my real estate license too. But I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I've missed out on the learning that comes from reading. I feel like it just makes you a little bit more of a well-rounded person. You have different perspectives, and there's also just so much that you get out of.
Do you think a lot of the craziness that happens in the world today is because people don't read?
Yeah, I really do. I think that there's just a complete lack of empathy from understanding other people's points of view. I think that there's just a complete lack of, learning that goes along to it. I mean, I think the book that we, are going to talk about here in just a sec is, super poignant for today. But I just think, had more people, I mean, even if you don't agree with it, just learning about the way that other people think, I feel like is really valuable. And I feel like it connects you with people, even like professionally. Like, I deal a lot with people. Basically, I just hop in and out of Zoom meetings all day and just talk to random people. And I feel like since I've started reading, I have a much more empathy. I have more empathy. I can understand where people are coming from because I've kind of read how people feel within books. And now there's just so much like my way or the highway. Like,
there is a lot of my way or the highway.
You don't like I don't understand how you could ever think like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's so many people that
and
are
it's
just
both sides of the road too.
Oh yeah. And I just feel like it's because of people not reading anymore. People just people are just told what to believe constantly. Told. You need to believe this. You need to believe this. You need to believe this. So that's kind of where this idea came from, was mostly just like taking control of my own education and also trying to learn how to learn from books so that translates into our kids. Because again, I want to be able to homeschool our kids, even if it's not, K through 12 or whatever. We might put them into high school. We might not. I mean, I have no idea where things are going, where we'll end up.
Sure.
But I do know that I really did enjoy my time for being homeschooled. And so I do want to do it for at least a little bit. And so that is something that I want to be able to pass along too. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I think we're honestly in the same boat. Like, I think a lot of the learning that my kids are going to do is going to be at home. Like, something that I bought I bought it because I got enough ads for it and finally caved. But also, I'm going to do it with Lucy, and I know that Lucy's a little bit too young for it because they recommend 12 and up, and it's also for people who don't know how to code yet, but it's a little inventor.io.
Oh, I've seen those. Those are super cool.
Yeah, I bought that 30-day kit. That 30 days in space, lost in space, something like that.
Lost under the sea.
They do have one, I think, coming out. It's lost in the sea.
At the end, it just implodes.
Yeah. No, yeah, the whole surprise. No, but it's a really cool concept. All we've done so far is read the intro. I got it, and it came in the mail while they were in Ohio, and so we've had like a week and a half of them back, but just haven't had the time to start it. But yeah, it's supposed to be done over the course of 30 days, and then they have some exercises that you can do after optionally. But the point is that I think Lucy's important learning will not be done in school. Like, I do remember, and we don't have to talk about education for the whole podcast, but I do want to mention this because I do remember this. The first time I read a textbook was in middle school. It was my 8th grade biology course. And it was because, you know, my dad's a dentist. He got a biology degree, so he actually took a bit of interest in this. And so we actually read through the whole textbook. Hold it up a little closer. I got to hold it a little bit.
Just like a little bit more from your mouth. It keeps like cutting in and out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shoot.
like right there.
Okay. No, but basically everybody struggled in Mr. Woolley's 8th grade biology course because he would give a daily quiz. And I found out the secret is that he did not come up with these daily quizzes on his own. He's just plagiarizing them from the back of every chapter.
No other kid figured that out.
No other kid in the class figured that out. Every other kid in the class had a textbook. But I read that textbook cover to cover.
It's Lone Peak right there, man.
No, this was Mountain Ridge.
Even better.
Yeah, this was pre-Lone Peak. No, it was, but it was actually fun, and I understand how like cancer works and like cancer spreads and how there's something in the cell wall that doesn't like it doesn't trigger the stop of the cell division. I know that the cell wall is responsible for cell division because of that textbook. I still remember that today.
Dang.
So, no, it's just.
So how do you feel like your learning has, I guess, progressed throughout the year? So I mean, taking out of, I guess, your coding. So
taking away from coding?
Yeah, because I mean, outside of like work education, because again, I would say that I've become more educated in like specific tasks, you know, like marketing, Google
Sure.
AdWords, Facebook marketing, all these different things.
But work doesn't count?
Yeah, but outside of like specific work skills.
Like pleasure learning?
Yeah, I just mean like you're in general feeling like your knowledge of.
I feel like most of my pleasure learning comes from YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'll watch videos on like nuclear fission. And it's not as complicated as you think because these people make these, you know, dumb, colorful YouTube videos for people with ADHD and max them out at like 12 minutes and nothing more because my attention span doesn't go longer than that. But I have learned a lot from it.
Okay.
Like, I mean, yeah, I could recall some stuff. We don't have to get into nuclear fission, but like there's different types of fission reactors and some are more successful, some are closer, some are further.
Do you think that YouTube gives you like an emotional learning as well? Would you say that?
No.
You think reading does better?
But
for
I think
that?
that's
I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of my personality though. It's a lot of just like objective learning. I like learning sciences and I like learning stuff like that.
Okay.
I do think that I am good at writing, and I definitely excelled in my English classes. But yeah, but I like the math and science a lot more than I like the.
I mean, I was definitely a math guy too. I like cruised through math classes.
I never cruised, but I found it interesting.
Yeah. I'm a problem solver. I feel like I could solve problems really well. You know, I could never remember equations, but I could basically just derive them and then work from there. I derive them on the back of my tests, use those equations on the tests instead of memorizing the equations. And so like that was always really easy for me. But again, that emotional learning, the learning through, you know, the social learning, those kinds of things, even just basic memorization. Like I just sucked at it. My brother's super good at it. I feel like Adam,
I'm not very good at memorization.
Adam excels at that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of weird, right? You wouldn't think so. But he's really good at
super dig at Adam.
I don't know. Adam will be
you wouldn't think so.
Adam will be on this eventually, by the way, and you will learn for yourself what I mean by that statement. No, but I mean, he's just really good at it. And I just never was. And so I feel like that's where reading is now filling that gap in my life.
Caleb's pretty good at, I mean, they pursued kind of the same undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird.
But I guess transitioning. So that's, I mean, interesting. I just want to learn more about people's path of learning at the very beginning of these. So that's kind of, I mean, I just find that really interesting because that's kind of what I want this to be more about than just about books. But I mean, it is also about books so people can read. So the book that we chose, again, I gave you a couple options, so you can't blame me. But I really enjoy this book. I'd say this is a top 3 favorite book of mine. So I'm going to take I'm going to take everything you say extremely personal.
Oh my gosh.
The book was 1984 by George Orwell. So just some context. I don't know if you know this, but 1984 was written in 1949.
Yeah, I saw that there on the poster when I walked in the room, and then I looked on Audible. I don't actually see any place in my library under the book, and I'm going to look again.
Just Google it. It was written in 1949.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. But I think that the problem is that I didn't know that, and it means more. Like when I walked in and saw that, I looked at the others, and I was like, oh, I guess Frankenstein could be written in 1818. Or I guess, yeah, Kite Runner could have been written in 2003 or whatever. But like, this just has to do... Like the release date on here is December 31st, 2006. So that's obviously the release date of the audio. Yeah, the audio.
Yeah, so that I don't think I would like this book as much if it was written in 2006.
Yeah, no, but it was written ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So like for time reference, this was written 4 years after World War II, which is crazy. I feel like also making your... I don't know if he's the villain. I don't know. I don't know who's the good guys and the bad guys in this book. But
they're all the bad guys, Brandon.
Yeah.
And it ends poorly.
Yeah, but the bad guy to the bad guys, his name is Goldstein, which, I mean, 4 years after World War...
Yeah, and you never meet him.
4 years after World War II, to just pick the most Jewish name you possibly could think of as the bad guy was a little...
I didn't put that together.
Was a little bold. I mean...
Yeah, that was pretty bold.
They were like, you know what we should do? We should make the one guy that doesn't like government the Jews.
I bet they didn't like government.
I just feel like you could have made them any race, and that was just a little of an interesting choice. But I was reading up on George Orwell.
It obviously had a lot to do with like Nazism and the regime and the Reich and all that. Like, yeah.
But apparently it was
vibe.
Like he gave off both anti-Semitism vibes and like pro-Jewish vibes. Like people just didn't know where he sat on the whole fence.
Well, where?
That was what I read on Wikipedia, which is...
I wonder how other people took the book.
According to Michael Scott, always true.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was very interesting. That was my one thing about the way he wrote. But I mean, it was written forever ago, which makes it way cooler, right?
No, that makes it way cooler.
I mean, like the things that he thought of back in the day of like, just like themes of like,
well, I mean, he thought of like the core, I'm not trying to diminish the author or the idea of the book, but basically all he did was boil down, like the idea and concept of Big Brother existed before he wrote the book.
For sure.
And he basically just took the principles and ideas of Big Brother and he's like, what's a fictional world where Big Brother would exist forever? And what is Big Brother founded on in that fictional world? And then wrote a book on it.
Yeah, but I feel like
he took it a
very
whole creative
step further, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, the end of that book is so good. So again, I want to try to make it so that we don't.
No, you should spoil it.
No. I want to try to make it where we don't spoil it.
What?
Well, maybe I don't know because
that's the whole point.
No. Because what you want to also get people to read the book. So you want to get people to read the book who haven't read the book, but you also want to talk to people who have read the book.
Yeah, but the book is it's not so long. It's actually not that long of a book. But I don't feel like we could talk about the whole book on a podcast.
No, we definitely won't. But I do want to talk about a couple themes. And I also want to get your opinion on dystopian futures, like which one, because again, so just as like a prerequisite for anybody who doesn't know what 1984 is, I feel like I've been living under a rock. But
I didn't know about it.
How did you not know about it? I feel like this book is everywhere. Everybody talks about it.
Well, I don't talk to a lot of people that talk about books.
Well, I mean, you listen to podcasts, though.
Yeah, but like Joe Rogan's podcast, all he does is talk about the book for the person. But he hasn't had George Orwell on there. I don't even know if he's alive. He's probably not alive.
1949. he wrote this book, so he's probably in his 30s, 49. Let's do some quick mental math here. Probably dead.
Okay. Could have wrote it when he was 5. Okay. Could have. Could have. Likely not, but could have.
Yeah. So, no, but I mean, I've heard this book mentioned on his podcast a bunch of times, on like Friedman's podcast a bunch of times.
I think maybe they mentioned it, but maybe they mentioned it in some passing. Maybe they didn't dive into it. And also, a lot of the books that I hear about on podcasts, I don't really I don't pursue much further.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Why is the mic in your throat?
Is it not?
Yeah, right
not,
there.
Just in front
of you a little bit. Just in front of you.
You can't hear me.
Come on. Man,
what do you think? I know how to work the mic. I've never talked to
you're giving me
freaking mic before.
Anxiety just watching you do this. All right. No. So, I mean, it's set in a dystopian future.
Yes.
And it's 1984 is the year that this takes place.
Theoretically.
But they don't actually know what year it is.
Yeah. Basically, the public's been kept in the dark about anything and everything. I feel like you have to talk about doublespeak.
Yeah. So that was definitely one of the things I wanted to talk about. But first, I wanted to talk about dystopian futures. Which one's your favorite? Is this up there?
No. No, this would be my least
I can't
favorite fictional world. This was like slightly in the reality that is the Holocaust, and in the fictional world that is this. This was only slightly less worse than the Holocaust. Like it was not. It was just it gave you a feeling of unpleasantness the whole time.
Yeah, it definitely
kind
did.
Of part of it. I mean,
I think that was intentional. I mean, I guess that was the feel that I got, was that it wasn't supposed to be a pleasant society, especially for anybody not in the upper party. Is that what it's called? It's not the high party. It's the upper.
It sounded like at the end that the high party was honestly the worst place to be.
What do you mean? They were like the only people that knew anything.
Yeah, but what they knew was a level of pure dedication that like shouldn't exist. And they were living in a world where logic and reason were subjective. And they were living in a reality that was subjective and not objective.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so
yeah, that sounds worse than being on the poverty level. I would much rather be on the poverty level that was unmonitored because they didn't care about them.
The proles.
Yeah, the proles, yeah.
Nice. All right, so what didn't you like about the book? Before we go into themes, I guess.
What did I not? So it didn't have to do with the writing. I do feel like the writing could have been better, but knowing that it was written in 49, I don't like. It was actually pretty impressive. I feel like it's kind of a newer concept to have different sections of the book be narrated from different points of view. Like in this book, the narrator follows the main character from the start to the finish, and you never actually see any other point of view. And the main character being Winston. But like he has a love interest, Julia, who, like, do you remember in Gone Girl how I think you're reading from his point of view for a long time and then it switches?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the audiobook, it's really cool because they have a different narrator and it's a girl. And so like it, creates this really fun production. And audiobooks were not in mind when writing this book, obviously. So there would have been no chance for that. But I do feel like it would have been cool to see Julia's point of view as well. But it does sound like she kind of had the same experience from start to finish anyways, so maybe there wouldn't have been more context, but
yeah.
I think it would have been.
I get that. I did find that rereading this for the second time, the middle section does kind of drag. I mean, I will say that. The whole
really because the book is in 3 parts, like part 1, 2, 3, etc. And gosh, I wish I could see it. Yeah, there we go. So there's parts 1, 2, and 3.
So part 1 is basically just all set up, right? It's talking about his job within.
But part 1, chapters 6, 7, and 8, pretty. They kind of went on for a while.
I don't remember what that is. All I remember is like this, once it starts talking about their relationship, which I understand is like an important part of like the finale of the book. is like understanding their relationship.
Yes.
I just felt like it dragged a little.
Yeah. Yeah, it went on for a while. It definitely talked about their love affair as, you know, as in detail without being, you know, vulgar, but
Without being
yeah, without being 50 Shades of Grey, it went as detailed as it could without being that. Which was good because I felt like you as a reader became kind of attached to Julia the same way Winston did. You became infatuated with Julia, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, the reader, I think definitely. For me, it was, right? You're infatuated with, you know, however I'm imagining the scenery and the person, like, you know, basically you gain this infatuation with Julia, but because you don't actually hear, like, from her narration, from her side of the story as much, I don't feel like you have the same level of love or any level of love that Winston has.
Yeah.
So
I guess that is true.
I think it would have added depth there. It would have added depth to the relationship, but it sounds like that wasn't your favorite part of the book anyways.
You know, but it was important because, I mean, in the end, that was what broke him, right? I mean, that was what essentially broke Winston at the end, was they were, like, giving up of his relationship for
But see, at
Big
the
Brother.
end, that's why I didn't like it, is because the end seemed to have no meaning to me. Because
See, I feel like
why did it end like that? Why did it just have to end with, oh, and the bad guys win forever?
But I think that
the end of
just is like, it just went to show, like, the power of,
Sure, like I guess if you're emphasizing how bad Big Brother can be and how much,
it's like the end of the Matrix, right? I mean, that's kind of what I feel like this book is like the Matrix. That's what I kept thinking. But written in 1949. That's what I kept thinking the entire time reading it this time. Because it's almost like you get, you know, red pill, blue pill, you know, you get to understand what happens in the Matrix.
He does that at the start.
Yeah.
He realizes that,
that it's all fake. You know, he realizes.
But he realizes he's dead anyways.
Yeah, but at the end of the Matrix, the end of the third Matrix, Neo just
I
goes.
honestly
Neo
don't remember
just
the
goes
end of the
back.
third Matrix.
He just goes back to living in the Matrix,
Yeah.
and that's what happens in the end of this one. You know, like he just goes. He goes back, and he learns to basically live in the reality of Big Brother, right? So in the end, it just comes back to, like, what is easier? Is it easier?
But for me, that's when the immersion gets ruined.
So did you like it up until the end? Like, were you entertained learning about the world and about Big Brother and about, like, the way that they change history? Because I felt like that was all super interesting. Like, the idea of changing the past.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Yeah, for sure, it's an interesting idea. I don't love the setting. Like, the post-World War II Cold War setting is not. It's just not my favorite. Like,
again, you like books in space, but
yeah, I prefer space to Cold War.
Yeah, I get that.
But it was interesting, and I was kind of at the edge of my seat. And there were several times in part 3 of the book where he's in
And that
what is it, the Order of Love, or
Yeah.
it's not
the order.
Oh
it's
my
the
gosh, the what of love? What is it?
I don't know.
Ministry of Love.
Ministry.
He's in the building of the Ministry of Love, and they're torturing him. And I'm spoiling it, like you said I shouldn't.
Well, I mean, you can spoil it a little bit. Again, if you haven't read it, we're not gonna.
Yeah, go read the book.
Yeah,
Go read the book and then listen. You gotta
definitely
read the book
worth
before listening to the
definitely
podcast.
worth listening to. You can listen to it. It might have just a few spoilers. We're not gonna like.
This book is also not the best in the world, so it's not the worst if it's spoiled.
I think it's really good, but no, this book, we're gonna have spoilers. I think I've decided. I was trying to figure out how to do that. I've been like racking my brain on how to like
but
not
it's like
do
a book
spoilers.
club.
Yeah,
Like there's spoilers at book clubs.
yeah.
Like if you go to the meeting about the end of the book and you have not read the end of the book, don't go to the meeting.
Yeah, but I still want you to listen to my podcast.
Maybe. Unless you No, so like at the end of the book when they're breaking him, it was I was most interested when they were electrocuting him and he felt like his back was going to break, and he kept saying, "You're holding up 4 fingers, you're holding up 4 fingers, you're holding up 4 fingers." And then even when he said, "Okay, it's 5, whatever, that's fine." When
Winston
O'Brien, when O'Brien was pointing out that, like, oh, but you still believe that it's 4, you're just saying it to get out of the pain. That is kind of when things started to make sense behind, like, it took me that long to realize that O'Brien was not still a good guy. He was not a double agent. I was holding out so much.
He's going to come around. He's going to slip him the razor.
Yes, dude. I wanted the good guys to win. I always want the good guys to win.
Yeah.
In heroic fashion, too.
Yeah.
But no. That was when I realized that, like, O'Brien's bad, but that he can still be good. Like, he can still win, right? But then in the end, he doesn't. And he breaks. He's a loser.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, so that's where you really get hung up then. It's just that it's not a happy ending.
Well, I don't like that it's a happy ending, but I'm trying to put myself in those shoes. And it's hard because I have a lot of motivators in life that if I was in that situation now, I feel like in the end, when they're going to put the rat trap on his head, if he doesn't basically get rid of his love for Julia, I feel like if someone was going to put a rat trap on my head or do something worse or what, I can't think of anything worse, but I feel like I still, like, my love for Megan or my love for my kids, that, like, I have love for kids, and in the book, Winston didn't have kids, so obviously that kind of, and also Julia is someone he's been dating for months. I don't even think it was a year. But, so there's that, and I've been married for 8 years, so.
Yeah, but I feel like that comes from, like, the world that they live in. I mean, they're so conditioned to already not trust anything. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, you live in a world surrounded by people that are like,
I live in a world that's not devoid of love.
Yeah.
And so it is, I can, like, I really can't. I can't put myself all the way into Winston's shoes, but, like, I don't want to, like, sound all macho, but in that scenario, there's nothing that would ever break me as far as Winston did. Like, they would end up just killing me. I don't feel like I could be tortured for any amount of time where I have the same outcome. And so that's when I lose my immersion, is because I feel like it's unrealistic.
I don't know. I feel like they could do some crazy torture and you'd be like, deuces, I'm out.
Yeah, but deuces, I'm out was never an option. They weren't trying to kill you. Like, yes, the relief of death is not something they wanted to give you while you still had your predispositions, or AK, your love for someone else other than the party.
So you would have, in Winston's shoes, if Josh was the one being...
If it's me.
Josh is
how I
there,
am now.
You're captured by the thought police.
I would be tortured forever, and I would hate it.
You would be tortured for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I honestly... like, there's nothing that would truly change me. And that they talk about that too in the book, where it's not just the change of the mind. They want the change of heart as well. They want to change you, not what you say. And I don't feel like there's anything that I feel like as people go, I'm more rock solid than maybe the average person in the world. I'm not like, core to my beliefs, like tough as nails. And I don't feel like I could physically hold up in a torture scenario, but I just don't think I have it in me to change who I am completely.
The entire time I was reading this book, I mean, it's just riddled with parallels to the world today. I feel like it's just crazy. I mean, it starts off and, about people trying to change the past and,
Yeah.
trying to, whoever can control history can control the way that people believe. And I feel like that's just, I mean, we see that time and time again today.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that I always
The
think of is like,
complete destruction of the family. And
I always just think of like JFK, like, dude, I don't know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I mean,
you're a conspiracy theorist.
my tinfoil hat comes up with JFK, but it's because but we'll never know. You know what I mean? Like, if the government controls the truth,
I think we'll know.
Did JFK
But that's
get
the problem.
assassinated?
That's the problem with the book, in my opinion, is that it is Big Brother to an extreme that, in my mind, I don't know that could ever exist, because there's it will have gone too far.
What about
Like, they would have to kill more people than the Holocaust did to attain a dystopian future like that.
Well, it's just,
And I think in
it's
the book,
control of information,
theoretically
really,
do.
right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know that they really kill people, but they kill information, right? They kill the history books.
Yes,
and
they kill information,
they
but
replace
they do
it.
it to a level where
It's not possible.
Yeah,
Not with the
it's
internet.
not possible.
Again, the book was written in 1949,
yeah,
so
it was
like
before the internet.
before the internet. I mean, in the book,
Well, there was the bill that tried to pass just like last year or the year before, where they were trying to censor the internet itself.
yeah, but you could never.
I mean,
There are just parts of the internet that you can't censor. I feel like if they started censoring the internet, more and more people would go to dark web, which, again, me saying that,
I don't think they would. I don't think
absolutely
that they would
nothing
go.
about dark web. But I don't know. I just think pre-internet you could do something like not. I don't know. It'd be highly, highly unlikely. But I get what the idea is, though, that you change history and change reality, and then I mean the whole idea behind the book is like, what is reality besides what's in your head? You know what I mean? Again, going back to the Matrix. I mean, what is reality? Reality for everybody in the Matrix was
What they thought
it was.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, living in the Matrix, you didn't actually.
Yeah, but
You didn't know you
subscribing
were
to a
leaving it.
belief, and they talk about this a lot in the "What Is a Woman" documentary. Have you listened? Have you watched that?
Yeah.
I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've watched enough of the intro to where I realized that the people who just kind of blindly accept this, and he actually has an interview with a particular person who's not trans or anything like that, just some random woman on the street, and she's like, yeah, but in your reality, I might not exist. And in my reality, you might not exist. Mm-hmm. And that is a level of thinking I don't think I could ever sympathize with.
But see, I feel like when you say like it's so unrealistic, and I feel like that's why I think that this book is so fascinating, is because I feel like it's happening. Like, dude, there are people that live.
It is happening on a
There are
much
people
smaller
that
scale.
live in a reality that just that just isn't real, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know
and
what I mean?
You want to say that it's one that you can't wrap your mind around, but also it's not real. They believe in things that aren't real, and people believe in things that are like,
They say that if
it
it's
just
there,
can't happen.
it's like the idea of like my truth, right? Like,
Right.
my truth is this, my truth is that. And so like the book does a really good job, in my opinion, of like outlining what that means to the extreme. So if we all start living in a world that's dictated by my truth, what happens? You know what I mean? Like, then who controls truth?
Right.
And that's what the whole premise of the book is about. It's like, okay, this group that saw the power of my truth over real truth and took advantage to that to the, the umpteenth power. You know what I mean? Like, they just were like, okay, we're going to just keep going with this my truth thing to where we control truth regardless of what truth is. So there's no longer an objective truth. I mean, that's the idea behind the very, very end of this book, which is, 2 + 2 equals 5, or 2 + 2 equals whatever the party says is truth. And it doesn't matter, because if everybody believes that 2 + 2 equals 5, then it actually does equal 5. I mean, 4 is just a construct, right?
Sure. Well, but see, then that's my problem with it, is if everyone believes that 2 + 2 equals 5, right? So let's pick something that actually exists. So let's say there's a scientific principle or concept or mathematical concept that exists in this world today that is accepted by everyone. Like, okay. So let's stretch this really far. I would dare say 99% of people on the earth believe in gravity, right?
I would
There's a
agree.
few kooks.
The flat earthers come up and chat.
Okay, so we all believe gravity exists, right? But what if one day we found out it wasn't what we thought it was? It wasn't just a bunch of mass that's gathered together that wants to attract more mass, right? What if there was something at the core of the earth that was unexpected and is actually creating this gravity?
But that would be an evolution of science. It wouldn't be like they use this exact example in the book. Do you remember when he talks about?
Sure, but the point is that we were all wrong,
Yeah,
right? So, like, yes, if everyone believes that 2 + 2 = 5, they can still all believe that. They're all wrong, though. And I feel like the book doesn't address that enough. The book just hammers down that reality is just what people think it is, and it's not something other than that.
well, no, I don't think that
That reality doesn't exist out of somebody's, mind.
I don't think that it hammers that it's not true. I think that they hammer in the fact that truth is not as powerful as absolute power.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest theme in there is like the difference
Yeah.
between power and truth. Because I mean, he talks about power quite a bit at the very end. O'Brien does, and he's explaining everything that
and it
happens.
doesn't matter what's true.
Yeah,
If power goes unchecked,
yeah,
power will swallow anything.
yeah. And so that is where like all of the stuff that happens nowadays, I feel like is you get like, I mean, people that can say whatever they want right now in this world. Like you can say, hey, I'm a cat. And people can be like, all right, dude,
Right.
you can be a
Right.
cat in your own reality. But ultimately, there's no power behind that, right? It's just that person's reality. So they can say like, oh, yeah, I'm a cat. Like, go use a litter box. It doesn't bother me.
Sure,
But
but
it's,
in the book, they've created a reality where you can put power behind anything.
well, they've just given power to the people who create those realities. So imagine if the power of the world was held by a group of people who said that people were cats. And that's where it gets kind of scary, because then they do control reality of people. And that is kind of the manipulation that goes along in this whole book. And they just couple that with, the inability to actually learn real facts through history and through truth and everything like that. And I don't know, I feel like it's a good book to kind of just see where we're going if things keep going.
Where does the slippery slope head?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's a huge slippery slope. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not like
No, the world today is nothing close to the awfulness.
nothing
of the
close.
book.
I mean, there's still so much good in the world and everything like that.
Generations and generations, of insulation between us and whatever this book.
But we were nowhere. I mean, we were infinitely further away from being, in Oceania or what? Oceania.
Yeah, what is it?
Oceania.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were infinitely further away from that 10 years ago than we are even today. I mean, today you've got, all sorts of things. I think of, the one that also got me was when they announced the increase in, we were 92% above our projected, our surplus of goods.
Yeah,
our
people
production
are up. Furniture is up. Yeah, production's, yeah.
And then it was like, and then Winston talks about how like
The Ministry of Plenty.
no one will ever know. And he's like, in reality, they probably didn't produce anything. They just say they did, print that they did, talk about that they did, and no one is the wiser. And I think of that one.
Every presidency is like that. Every presidency.
Single one.
This
is the greatest presidency of all time. There has never been such economic growth as when my presidency. And you're like, dude.
The unemployment rate. It's the unemployment rate.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Like, honestly, with Trump, there was all-time
Unemployment.
like the best unemployment ever. And with Biden, it's the best unemployment ever. And honestly, I feel like people don't ask themselves enough. Like, did I see unemployment change? Like, do I know people that didn't have jobs that now have jobs?
Well, and that's when it gets scary. Like,
Because I don't.
He talks about, it's so stupid in the book. He's like, shoelaces. Like we were 92% above our shoelace quota. And then he looks around and he's like, I don't have shoelaces.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's where it kind of hits home. And I feel like,
and they talk about production being super high, but in the book they talk about razor blades to shave that like there's a shortage of.
well, and then they talk about like chocolate rations go down 10%, and then they're like, but
they write it in history like, oh, they went up to 20, but in reality they went down from 30 ounces to 20 ounces.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like, I mean, you turn on the news and they're like,
that's gas prices.
We have the best economy ever. And then you look at it and you're like, dude, I go to the store now and it's $150 to like eat for for 4 days. You know, like every week I go to the store, it's $150. And I'm not like balling out of control. I shop at Walmart. Like I'm not above Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. Yeah, I shop at Walmart, Smith's, and Costco. And Costco, every time I go to Costco, I know it's going to cost $200. At best, $200. And I don't even feel like I'm getting a lot.
Dude, when I first moved to Idaho, I know this is going to be like, I mean, this is a dumb item. But when I first moved to Idaho, which was like 3 years ago, I remember after jiu-jitsu, I'd go and I'd buy a Gatorade. And it was 99 cents.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. 99 cents. I knew every time. It is now $2.10 for that same exact Gatorade. I know it's just a Gatorade, but like, dude, that's doubled in price.
Yeah, that's gone up a lot.
Just
somebody's salary is keeping up with inflation.
Yeah, not mine. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm self-employed. So, but I like, but like, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like that's just, I mean, I feel like we're moving towards that world. And so that's what was so interesting to me. I know you're like, oh, it's just, I mean, one, you didn't like that the bad guys win, but two, you were like, I don't know that it's super realistic, where in my mind, I'm just thinking the entire time, I'm like, dude, we're halfway there. We have people who live.
Sure.
We have people who already.
There are those parts of the book that make it super real. And those are really interesting parts of the book. The part that I did not think was real was the ability to completely take everything away from somebody.
Okay.
Right? The ability to completely take reality away.
So the last 30
from
minutes.
Everybody. Well, it wasn't, because the last 30 minutes is just the last chapter. But they start doing it in the whole part 3. I want to keep wanting to say act 3, but it's part 3.
I definitely liked the first half of part 3 for sure, because I do like the idea of being able to, like the way that he explains reality. You know what I mean? Maybe not the end result of Winston giving up his reality.
Sure. Yeah, but him explaining that, oh no, we don't just kill people at the Ministry of Love. We change them and make them beg and plead for, you know, a redemption of their sins, you know.
It was interesting because he also references Hitler in that section, which was crazy because this was written like literally 4 years after the end of World War II.
Right. I don't remember the reference to Hitler. I mean, there was the whole time was vibes to a Nazi party, even though in reality this wasn't a Nazi party. This was the United States and allies.
But no, he talks about how like there were imperfect dictators in the past who, you know, remember that he references the Crusades, he references Hitler, and he says how they, you know, their goal was to basically kill people who weren't in line with the party. And he said how that created martyrs and that created people who, you know, people could look up to as like, hey, this person rose above the challenges. And he said that they don't do that there because that gives somebody to look up to, somebody to worship. But instead, the Ministry of Love is all about changing people down to their core so that there are no martyrs. There is no one to look up to besides Big Brother. Which, I mean, is interesting again. Like
it's something I've never thought of.
On another level though, like I mean, it just goes to show like when you don't have anything in your life besides somebody to rule you. You know what I mean? It's like the absence of love and like the complete, you know, need for somebody to guide you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like without a family, I don't know, can you really, really develop past that point?
Yeah, honestly. And that's what I feel like makes it hard for me to put myself in Winston's shoes, is because I do have a family, right? Yeah. I grew up in a good family and I remember my family, which Winston had a hard time doing. And then I have a current family. So it's
bringing that back to nowadays though. I mean, how important is the family?
Yeah.
I mean,
we
it's
talked
insane.
about school and how.
Well, I just mean like in the world. The world
Yeah.
doesn't value family at all.
No, TikTok doesn't value family.
No, TikTok's all about booties and
And a lot of people talk about like the idea of like taking care of yourself.
yeah, self-love.
Right? Yeah, the self-love. And I'm not totally against self-love because you do have to take care of yourself. You have to respect yourself enough to take care of it. But I feel like people have taken it too far.
I would 100% agree with that. I feel like some of the happiest times in my life, as well as like the times when I really, really, I don't know, felt like I found myself, have also been the times when it's been not about myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in service of my family, in service of other people, just in general, like working for something greater than myself is kind of when you feel like, okay, I can do so much more. Like you don't really push yourself to the limit when you're doing stuff for yourself.
No.
Like you never reach your limits if it's all about you.
I kind of had an experience with that just weeks ago, right? Because Megan and the girls were visiting her parents in Ohio for 2 weeks. And that was the longest I'd been away from them. Well, ever. And it was like, I want to say it was hard for me. It was harder for Megan. Because obviously she has the girls and I'm just living in a clean house for 2 weeks.
Without a dog, by the way. I'm still disappointed that you didn't buy one while she was gone.
Yeah, well, I wanted that clean house, like I mentioned. But it did get to it helped that I took a work trip in the middle of that to go to Denver and work alongside other people. But I've been thinking about some of our friends who don't have the same, like they don't have a wife and kids, we'll say, and I don't think anything less of them. All I'm thinking is, wow, my whole motivation in life is my wife and kids.
Well, it motivates you so much more than just for yourself, right? Like, I mean,
well, no, I got to the point where I was like, what is the point of this? Like, what am I working for?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I chose to be a developer before I had kids, and it was after I got married, but it was before I had kids. But I chose it knowing like I was going to do this because it was a good career to support a family with. So like even before I had the family, I was still making decisions for my family. And I feel like if you take that away, I honestly don't know what I would be making decisions for. It wouldn't be for me. I would have to go find someone. I would have to go attach myself to something that I loved and was willing to give my life for.
I don't know.
And I feel like this is now where my argument that it's not super possible becomes kind of possible. But if there was a world where there was a party that you could devote yourself to and just have, this undying love for a party, then yes, there's a world where this exists.
Well, I think that
But we have a world with families and we have a world with love, and where like I don't care about any political affiliation more than I care about my family.
But I think that's healthy.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But the problem is I don't think that everybody, thinks like that. Like I do think there are I do think there are a lot of unhealthy people out there who don't have that same motivation that could get to that point where, party over everything mentality. And then you get to the point where like, hey, you get people in power who say that you can be a cat, you know what I mean? Then, hey, like the party says it, I'm going to walk the party line. I'm going to believe what the party says. And all of a sudden, like reality doesn't really, truly exist anymore. And I feel like we're just getting closer and closer to that point. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just kind of, that's really what I liked about the book. I thought that it broke down the mentality of what it takes for somebody to do that. And also like what it takes to really believe somebody that says that. Like you have to be in a certain state of mind.
Yep. You have to be a particular type of person that has not had specific experiences in life.
I mean, even Winston, who was like,
again,
didn't have a family, didn't have anything like that. He had enough experiences and enough individuality and enough, enough of a relationship with somebody else that he, started thinking critically, like what if?
Yeah.
And again, going back, I guess, to the podcast.
And he starts making huge strides. Like he had his doubts in part 1, but then in part 2, where the relationship starts to form, he makes leaps and bounds towards, no, I hate the party.
Yeah.
Right. And solidifies that. And so that's why it like,
but also going back to
you see
books.
Winston's mindset go so far in the right direction for part 1 and 2, and then 3 comes along and it's like, all right, let's go all the way back.
Yeah, but it just goes back to show that absolute power beats anything. Yeah, and just the danger of just a totalitarian power. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, I think that's what most of George Orwell's books are. I know he wrote like Animal Farm, and I'm pretty sure he wrote Lord of the Flies too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But a lot of those are about totalitarian power and how it corrupts and, the risks of a totalitarian state. And I think, again, that comes from, sitting on the heels of World War II and seeing what could have been with Hitler and everything like that. So he obviously had a little bit more of like a upfront state, but you get all these TikTokers on there like dancing and everything like that. But they have, I mean, like, do you really know or have experience? Like, have you seen really what like absolute power really leans into? Like, do you really want to give any one person, any one thing, anything outside of your, any group, 100% of, power over your reality? Like, do you want to rely 100% on anything? Like, I don't, I mean.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people would still say no to something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But all the same, I feel like even in the book, like that came whether or not people wanted it, right? Because it came...
But it came in steps. I mean, he talks about how it happened in... I think he talks about the 30s is when the start of the power, and it's 19.
It happens so fast, honestly. He talks about the history of how it came to be really quickly.
Yeah, but I want to say it was like 40 years because he talks to the one old guy and he's like, "Oh man, this old guy was there back when it happened."
Yeah, in the book, people still had memory, but you see the young people in the book. You see them as they are like
bought in.
Yeah, completely bought in. And have a complete inability to see anything other than the reality given to them. But yeah, I don't know. You kind of do see that in the youth.
Again, I just don't know if you like. I mean, again, you listen to Joe Rogan or you listen to Jocko or anything, and it's the hard time make strong men make good times make weak men, weak men make hard times. And, I think we're just kind of like, I think that's kind of what this book is to an extreme. You know what I mean? Like to the point where like they never get out of it and they just continually grow and grow and grow as weak. And you see that, I feel like we're in one of those cycles now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like, yes, we're at the start of a cycle like that. It happened several years ago. I think it actually happened kind of with the start of TikTok, is when it really started to form. I think it kind of began before, but the snowball got speed with TikTok. Because TikTok, on a whole different psychological level, is able to addict you to that screen in ways that maybe Vine could a little bit. But worse.
Vine was lit back in the day.
Yeah, Vine was awesome. But
Vine was like TikTok, except way better. For anybody who doesn't know what Vine is, I feel really bad for you.
Yeah, you need to read some more books.
Go on YouTube and look up best Vines of all time and just get sucked in to the world.
Become the thing that we think is bad.
Hey, moderation in all things, right? Read a little, YouTube a little.
There you go. But I feel like in the reality that exists, in the reality that I will live in my lifetime, and I'm not saying my subjective reality, but the reality that I exist in, will never be a people where they completely accept somebody else's dictatorship.
maybe not dictatorship, but do you think we'll ever get into a space where we completely accept somebody else's reality?
No.
I mean, we're already, I don't know, like the transgender.
Yeah, but the
transgender
fight for reality is so strong that they couldn't swallow it.
The transgender movement is the closest thing that we have to this in this world.
Yeah, and it's not
being able to accept that a man can be a woman.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then just say that it is their reality, therefore it is truth. Right? That is
right.
That
and
is
then
the
they're also going
argument.
A step further and saying that this is not just my reality, this should be your reality too.
Exactly. Which is the book.
Yeah,
right?
which is the book.
The book to a T.
But the amount of people that say no, like that's not true, and I'm not going, like, you can have your beliefs, but as for me and how I raise my kids, like, this is the reality that will be taught.
But I think
there are so many more of those people. There are so many more people who are not compliant as.
But I think it comes in steps. Would you agree that, like, maybe in the last 3 years, there's been an increase in, okay, that can be your reality, but maybe it's not mine.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, no, that's just straight. I mean, I would say 10 years ago, if somebody had said that, people would have been like, no.
Yeah, I'm not at all saying
you're
it's
a
not.
boy.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I'm more emphasizing the distance we are from that complete change in reality is.
I just think that in general, it's just dangerous to throw power behind groups that want to control reality.
Yeah.
So again,
well, it's dangerous to throw power behind a party or group where they believe that no other opinion should exist. And I feel like you've seen that today too, where some people will say, oh, we just need to vote out all the Republicans, or, oh, we just need to vote out all the Democrats.
Yeah.
When in reality, that's the only thing keeping, like, whether this reality exists because the party was Democratic or Republican, because I could honestly see both. It happened because there was one party.
Yeah.
And not multiple. And yeah, I mean, it's this balance of yin and yang. It's this.
Do you want to get a little tinfoil hatty?
I mean, dude, I'm suited up in tinfoil.
I read another book recently. It was Jack Carr's new book.
Okay.
So it's like the Terminalist is his first one with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, isn't a new one? He has stuff about
In the Blood. It's about the New World Order.
Oh, nice.
I don't think it's called that in the book. I can't remember. I just finished.
What's the main character's name again?
James Reese.
James Reese.
Yeah.
And it's always James Reese.
It's always James. All of them. So each book
Right.
can be its own book. Like you could read it out of order. It doesn't really matter. But I mean, there definitely is a progression. Like you wouldn't be completely lost if you read the latest one just now. But it's better to read them all with a little bit of backstory. But that being said, I do enjoy those books. They're just a little bit, I don't know, they're fun. They're a little over the top, which is fun. But he talks about the New World Order. And it was kind of crazy because it got me thinking about if there's a New World Order. You know what I mean? And then I kept just thinking, like, because, dude, the book just so many parallels of, like, all of this stuff that happens and all these people in power and all this kind of stuff. Do you, Josh, think that we live in a world with a new world order where there are a small group of people across the world with vast amounts of money that rule everything?
I don't think that those people with all that money have an agreement.
You don't think so?
But I feel like people want to say that there's a world order with all of the wealth and they control everything.
Because that would be the party, right? I mean, if there was somebody with so much power that controlled everything and they were a uniform group, the New World Order would essentially be
they're a uniform group. That's
the party.
Like the richest man on earth, Elon Musk, does not conform.
He's a renegade. Did you see that?
He is a renegade.
Did you see that he's going to be fighting Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, he's going to lose.
Did you see Mark Zuckerberg's fights, by the way?
I think I saw some clips, but yeah, Mark Zuckerberg can fight. Yeah.
So can you?
I don't know.
They both do BJJ.
I mean, oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, they're both white.
Then he might.
They're both white belts, but.
Well, then he might be able to hold his own. He's bigger.
Me saying that, sitting on my high horse with my blue belt, but
right.
It's a pretty legit blue belt.
Oh, is it? Is it light blue? Is it baby blue?
It's getting there. It's getting worn. It's pretty nice. But no, yeah, I mean, he's the renegade though.
Yeah, he
Mark
is a
Zuckerberg.
renegade, and
'Cause
there's
I mean,
a lot of other renegades.
There are
too.
a couple, but like Bill Gates, you think Bill Gates is a
And like you
renegade?
even saw this week, Elon
Gates.
Musk.
You think that
Bill,
dude's
Bill Gates is a freaking psychopath. But we always knew that. We knew that from when he started Microsoft, and we still know that now. I mean, yes, he is wildly successful, but that doesn't make him. Success does not make you a good person.
No, definitely not.
And people assimilate success with good people too much because they so badly want to be successful.
If there was a New World Order, Bill Gates would run it.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
It would be the Gates Foundation, but yeah. And they'd say he's still alive.
But in this Jack Carr book, they're the ones behind the Ukraine war. They were behind the ones, behind the.
Okay. Wow, it has super current events. Ukraine war?
Yeah. Behind COVID and stuff like that. Yeah, because they're behind. Again, just a quick tangent. They're behind the Ukraine war because it's a group of people that basically bought. I don't know what it's called. I do have a degree in economics, but I'm not an economist.
Yeah, you're still an idiot.
Yeah, definitely. No, but they buy some sort of future. Oh, they buy futures on oil. And then they start the Ukraine war, and then the price of oil shoots up because everybody sanctions oil from Russia,
right?
And all this and they all make their money and everything like that. And they do this repeatedly throughout the world, and that's the whole thing. And they try to keep powers down by starting wars, and they're part of the industrial military complex, which also the book talks about, a lot about war. And I thought that was fascinating, talking about how the purpose of war is not to necessarily win warfare, but the purpose of war is to destroy manufacturing, so that because he says, people have become so good at manufacturing that theoretically everybody could have a good life and be rich.
Yeah.
But they don't want everybody to have a good life and be rich. So instead what they do is they manufacture things for war just to destroy it, so that labor doesn't directly go into the people. It goes into destruction. That's the purpose of all of the wars in 1984, is just the destruction of labor capital, just so that so it continues the class system. So there's not an overabundance of goods. People can't produce for each other. Instead, they're producing for destruction,
right?
Without end. I mean, again, throwing that little tinfoil hat on. How much money have we thrown, not thrown away, but how much money have we thrown into the war in Ukraine that could have been used here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, who knows what you could have done with that money?
I'm telling you, my Gatorade wouldn't be $2.10. I can tell you that right now. That would be nice.
Yeah. No, I think there's way better ways to spend the money.
But you don't think there are people intentionally doing that? So that's
no, I think there are people intentionally doing that. But my perception of a world order is a group of people that are unified in function and can endlessly control, the outcomes of the world and the outcomes of any class lower than them, right?
So
but there's one
just
key
like the
point.
party in the book.
Yeah, just like the party in the book, just like the inner party. But I also feel like that
we're not there.
Yeah, we're not there, because even billionaires with different, among the billionaires, there's different beliefs, and also you see billionaires with different beliefs would come together against something like that. Right, you see Elon, who's known renegade for his class of people, but there's also Mark Cuban, who he was even butting heads with Elon, and I mean, we'll lump Joe Rogan in there because he's filthy rich. But he was butting heads with them. But I don't know Mark Cuban personally, but I don't think that Mark Cuban would ever be on board with, even in his infinite lust for money, there doesn't exist a world where he wants all of the billionaires to work together to keep them billionaires.
I don't know.
I mean, I think there are groups of people that do that. I think they exist in politicians.
And small groups of people, but they don't have
smaller.
ultimate power like the party did.
Yeah.
They basically control reality.
Right. They don't have ultimate world power. But I do think that that is essentially how politicians work. That's my version of the tinfoil hat, is that politicians are there to, you know, make a big scene and then make each other rich. And there's an infinite amount of insider trading. Like, insider trading is just not against the law when you're a politician.
Or getting bags of cash from the Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah, or just getting, flat out.
$5 million.
Yeah, foreign money from our government or another. And I think that that's all completely normal to them. Completely normalized.
I need to sit on some board for $5 million.
Yeah, that'd be a sick gig.
That would be nice. That'd beat doing what I'm doing now.
That would beat anything. What do you mean doing what you're doing? It would beat anything that anybody is doing now.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, so I really liked the book. And I feel like, again, it's just, I think it's an important book for people to see. Like,
it is an important book.
Where people, like, where this goes. You know what I mean? Like, what is the ultimate end goal here? Like, how much of reality do you really want to change, and how much of do you want to base our society around truth? Really, that's like the biggest thing to me. I think there's like nuggets in there, like the stuff on war, I think was super interesting. I think the stuff on, I don't know, books, I thought was super interesting. How they change books in order to, you know, teach the people what they want, and how, like, the first thing that they went and did when the party came into control was, you know, started changing literature, started changing the way people talk, started changing things, because if you control that, you control
the present, you control the past, and if you control the past, you control the future.
Yeah. So I thought that was all very interesting, but ultimately I thought, just in general, it was just a really important book for everybody to see, like, a society not grounded in truth, a society grounded in
fear and power,
in your truth and in power. I think it's just headed down a dark, sad road.
It is really interesting. And I would say, so my initial reaction was I didn't like the book. I think a better, more accurate analysis of how I feel about the book is I liked it. It wasn't fun, but I liked it in the sense that it was like a good, necessary read. And it was really interesting. But yeah, the good guy loses. So that sucks.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the book? So I think personally I'd rate it.
Do I rate it objectively, or do I rate it like, you know, is my rating?
There's 2 different ratings here. So we're gonna do a rating on the book.
Out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 10. Rating on the book. And then your second rating is going to be, or your second, it's not a rating. The next one's a yes, no, or
like a recommendation.
It is fun or required. That's what I'm calling it. So,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, is this a book that everybody should read, or is this a book for fun? And then rating on a scale of 1 to 10. So how would you do it on a scale of 1 to 10?
And what am I rating? The narrative?
The book.
Or the purpose? Okay, yeah, but there's like...
I feel like this is not a hard question.
This is hard.
Okay,
I can break it.
You log on to the Fandango of books.
Yeah, friggin'.
I feel like the Rotten Tomatoes of books, and you just have to click a button that goes from 1 to 10. I think the Rotten Tomatoes of books is called Goodreads.
Well, then we're just perpetuating bad information.
No, we're not, because I'm going to put this up on my website. People can disagree. People can chime in on the comments.
Sure, but they're disagreeing. Well, okay.
It creates buzz, dude. This is what we're doing. I need people to comment. That's how you win algorithms. So if you're...
All right.
If you are watching this, Mom...
All right, well, then I'll give my personal opinion. Then I'll give my personal opinion on it, and not what I think it actually is, because there's...
No, I want your personal opinion, and then obviously the fun or...
Yeah, obviously it's a good book. And
then obviously the fun or the required reading.
Sure.
You know, that should dictate a little bit into that too. But if you just didn't, you know, think it was well written or whatnot, that might factor
No, it was really well written.
That might factor into your ranking. Rank it however you'd like. Don't feel any pressure.
Yeah, but
this is one of my top 3 favorite books.
Yeah, this book sucked. I'm gonna give it, and this is a dig at you personally, but I'm gonna give it a 6.
A 6? All right.
That's like a 6.5, 7. I'm like really on the verge there. I for me, it was uber not fun.
Okay.
But it was well written. It had a good narrative. It was clear. It was very interesting.
Did you feel like you just wanted to stop reading ever?
I mean, yeah, because I raced through it and I read it at 2x speed. I was just tweaking by the end of it.
Well, that's your fault for not starting when I told you to start.
I started hour. Okay, I didn't have the notice that you need to give all of your other guests. But
I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to be my only guest for a while. We're running this back next week. Get ready to read a book a week.
I could read a book a week. I was given them 2 days.
I don't know what you didn't understand about my only friend.
Yeah,
just kidding.
I guess. But no, yeah, I think. Is there half points, or is it just 6 or 7? I think I will give it a 7. I will give it a 7 because I really do believe that it is well written. I really do believe that it is interesting. And I do believe it is a necessary read. This answers the next question. It's a necessary read. It's not a fun read.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm going to give it an 8. See, I don't even think it's a 10.
But how is this your top 3 book?
Because I think it's that important. That's what I'm saying. I think it's like so far on the necessary scale.
It is super on the necessary scale.
That it like bumps it up for me. Like this is one that like I thoroughly think everybody should read. As far as like books that I've read though, that I've been just like constant page turners, like came out of it and was like, "Woo, that was super fun." This is definitely like probably not one of those books. I never wanted to put it down. You know what I mean? Like I never was like, okay, when is this going to end? But I also was never like, I'm just going to stay up and finish this. Yeah. Which like I've read books like that where I'm like, holy crap. Like I just want to keep going. But I do think that this is so far on the necessary side of things. Like, yeah, that it does bump it up into one of my top 3 favorite books. Like it just is, it's a thinker, man.
It is a thinker. It is a thinker. And to that extent, if I did not have to binge it, I wouldn't have. There are some books that I have read, like we talked about Project Hail Mary, like whenever you get around to that, I binged that.
I think Project Hail Mary would be our next one that we read together for our next podcast.
Great. Yeah. And that is a fun read. And it has some necessary because it has good meaning. In the same way that did you ever read The Martian?
I watched the movie.
So at the end of the movie, there's a scene where, the actor's name Matt Damon is talking to future astronauts. Yeah. And he talks about how important it is that we value human life so much that we're willing to take drastic measures to save even just one. Mm-hmm. And that principle is perpetuated in the next book.
Oh, okay.
So I think that is cool. So like there's a little bit of like,
would you call that necessary? Like,
yeah, is
compared to this one, would you call it necessary? Like, I don't know.
No, compared to this one, I wouldn't call it as necessary, but it has some necessity to it. It has some necessity in the sense that it has some good message that should be, that, you know, you should find, everybody should have that in their heart. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be, a new party leader that says that everybody should think a certain way. But I feel like, love for other human beings.
All right, big brother.
Should be there. Yeah. No, but yeah, good book.
Okay. Well, that I think will be our next one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Project Hail Mary's good.
Unless there's,
it's a binger. But I would have finished it. I will say, I forgot what I was even talking about. But yeah, I would not have binged this book if I didn't have to, but I would have finished it. Yeah. And there are some books I don't even finish.
Yeah. I would agree. There are definitely some books I don't finish. I start, I'm like,
yeah. And there are some books, like I do a really bad job. Like I cannot watch movies twice.
Really?
I have a really hard time. They have to be super freaking good. Movies that I have seen twice include like The Dark Knight and Dune.
Really? I'm like
that's kind of it.
I guess movies I don't watch twice.
That and some Jim Carrey comedies.
I rewatch TV shows. Like it's going out of style. Mostly because there's only like a handful of TV shows that I watch.
I mean, The Office, like I haven't seen The Office an infinite amount of times like you have. Like, do you even count now? Does it even matter?
I watch it at least twice a year.
Oh my gosh. I have not seen it, and I love that I've taken a break from it because it's going to be so much better when I go back to it.
That's
but
what
I
we should
have
do.
not
That's
seen
what we
it
should do
since.
after this.
Let's go watch The Office. No,
What?
I'm saving it.
For what?
For my own enjoyment. What do you mean? I'm saving that pleasure for whenever I get Peacock and decide to do it.
Gosh.
No, but I haven't watched it since it's left The Office. And it hasn't been quite long enough because I've probably seen it 5 times through.
That's not enough.
I know. For some people, that's pretty average. And for some people, that's 5 more than they need.
All right. Well, it's been fun. We'll have to do this again.
We'll do this again.
Mostly because
It was fun.
we need,
This is
I need
interesting.
more content. How do you like the studio?
The studio is good.
Yeah?
It is
Are
impressive.
you blinded by the lights like you were just whining and complaining before we started?
So I had 20/20 vision before the podcast.
Well, now you're on my level. I've got
Now I'm probably going to have to go get LASIK.
820 vision or whatever it is. Blind as a bat.
Yeah, you've got some shields protecting your eyeballs.
I know. I've got double contacts.
I'll come with blue light
blind.
filters next time.
Yeah.
It's the checkered lights.
Yeah,
I keep
just don't
looking
looking
at
them.
them.
Yeah, you
And
just
I'm
look
now,
at me.
now,
No,
now
'cause
you're just a big fat checker.
I know. Every time I look at them, I can see all the dots. It's like I can basically count them if I close my eyes.
I can see that light and that reflection on that poster. I don't know. It's not the worst. Yeah. It is good. I do think that the lighting and the mood is fun.
Yeah.
Like if it's okay.
Hopefully the sound is good. We're gonna have to probably play around.
I think
with all the
honestly
settings.
you could just put like a what is it called? Some kind of opaque filter on these so that it's not like the LED, like something more than whatever the case is adding, and soften the light a little bit
like
more.
the softbox light. That's
Yeah,
on
like the
that one.
softbox on that. Even I don't know if you can get something like that for those, but
I don't know.
I think that would be super enjoyable.
We'll have to see how it turns out in post. Because if it looks good, then you're just gonna have to be blind every time.
Yeah, and
you
who
come.
knows? Maybe the file's corrupted, and this will be the podcast nobody ever sees.
Hopefully not. Because I feel like it was semi decent.
Yeah, it's still recording. It says it is.
Well, hopefully we don't lose it. This has been a good test. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, go watch The Office.
No.
Thank you for listening to the Bookley podcast. We will be back here next week with another book. Please look at our website at www.bookleypodcast.com for a book schedule so that you can either read along or pick out a couple books that you might want to read with us in the future, or listen to podcasts for books that you may never read ever, but want to just learn more about. And also, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what we can do to make the podcast any better. So we're always open to any sort of comments, suggestions, and we do read them all. So please submit anything that you have and let us know how we can take this podcast to the next level. Thank you.